If you really want to piss me off, be a doctor who tells me, Deb, we know you have Lyme disease, but we can't talk about it. We know you have Lyme disease, but we're afraid of the medical board. You have Lyme disease, but we can't talk about it. Because if we talk about it, our medical license goes away, our medical insurance goes away, our bond goes away, all of our credentials goes away. All the years we spent as a doctor, becoming a doctor, and that expense, that schooling expense, all of that goes away. The retirement goes away. So medical doctors are not going to stand up with a spine for a Lyme patient against a system that's killing us. In Oregon, we don't have any doctors with an MD behind their name or a nurse practitioner behind their name. Anybody who's registered under the Oregon Medical Board. We don't have anybody who will look me in the eye in spite of my mile-high diagnostic materials from my Genix labs. A globally recognized laboratory. Nobody in Oregon has the courage to say, Deb, you have Lyme disease and a number of the pathogens that go on with it. There are 329 species of Lyme Borrelia. Another at least 50 co-infections. You cannot have a co-infection and not have Lyme disease. You can be born sick with congenital Lyme disease. This mess started in the Korean War, 1954. Pathogens are shared in families. Thus, the symptoms. Children are born sick. The CDC now acknowledges congenital Lyme disease. Mothers are born sick. Sick children. If you're pregnant, get a Lyme test because you can be treated in vitro before the child is born and not share this gift with them. Please do that. Current infections are known to be more than 10 times AIDS. But if we're not properly testing, if we're not diagnosing, we're not counting the numbers. 324,000 Americans were known to be infected in recent years, like 2019. The Tick-Borne Working Group has issued multiple substantial conversations about this matter. Medical groups like ILADS, International Lyme Disease Doctors, are leading a lot of this new research. But it's not enough. I got stuck in the fibromyalgia category for 35 years. Chronic intractable pain, spinal fusions, muscle spasms, all kinds of symptoms. And every one of them, they want to segregate into its own category so that they don't add up to anything. Think about that. cancer people, the Lyme people, the MS people, the arthritis people, the Parkinson's people, the ALS people, the joint problems, the spinal stenosis, the chronic pain syndrome, the relapsing fever, the Ehlers-Danlos. There are so many. All these chronic illnesses. There's a chaos in the room. And we send these kind of highly symptomatic people down to IGeneX for testing. I just have never been wrong in diagnosing them. Remember that movie, that Bruce Willis movie? I See Dead People. Well, I see Lyme people. And I continue to see Lyme people. I see it in my lesbian community. There's not a single lesbian that I meet that doesn't have a chronic illness. I diagnose my dentist, who has a boatload of money, a scientific degree, and a connection with the medical community. Yet, the state of Oregon let her down. I have watched some of my sailing community on YouTube, reached out to them on the international basis, and you know what? She says, Deb, you're right. I have Lyme disease. Now, I'm not ever going to disclose who these people are because I don't violate trust like that. But there are a lot of people coming forth. We've seen Michael J. Fox talk about his Parkinson's, but less talked about is the fact that his Lyme disease caused it. He's positive for Lyme. You don't have to be tick bit. It can be mosquitoes and fleas and bed bugs and other biting insects. I went camping in Lake Timpanogos, Oregon, 2012, August. Bit my mosquitoes. I ended up with relapsing fever, babesiosis, which caused cardiac events, and other pathogens. I know it's a lot to take in the COVID moment, but the COVID moment is teaching us to look at pathogens. So please, become pathogen smart. Please, go look at the amazing book written by a Stanford medical research scientist, Chris Newby. The book's name is Bitten, Bitten. Complex pathogens that get recombined. So if you have HIV, 4 HIV spike proteins, and you add that to SARS, that's where you end up with coronavirus. True. If you look at Lyme disease, Willy Bergdorfer admitted to recombining multiple pathogens. And by combining multiple pathogens, your body doesn't necessarily recognize these, so it doesn't know how to deal with them. So they sit and fester, where we don't know if we're going to fight them, but they have biofilms. Should we fight the biofilms? Should we not fight the biofilms? Maybe we're not strong enough to fight the biofilms. Maybe we just need to contain the biofilms and see if we can survive this crap. Well, Lyme is very complex, and it seems to be like this chaos monkey in the room for a multitude of pathogens in people with chronic illness. And I'm hopeful that some of these new mRNA platforms are going to help out. But at the end of the day, we have to first identify patients. And unless and until we can count all of the patients who are in fact infected with one of the 328 species of Lyme Borrelia, we can't form a good federal policy. And the U.S. federal policy is followed by a multitude of other countries. This is why it's so important for Americans to be properly tested and screened for Lyme disease. Don't put your finger in your ear and go, la, 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 I don't want to listen to it, because it's probably knocking on your door. You listen to the wives' tales of your local tribe, and they're wrong. I'm here to tell you, they are wrong. And they were wrong because they were misguided by professionals who were taught to misguide. That's the reality. It is what it is. It's probably too big to admit at this point. But the best I can do is to encourage you to go to IGENEX.com, IGENEX.com. They're out of Northern California. It's a great lab. Get tested. You can go online and look at Dr. Joseph Burrascano's, Burrascano, apostrophe S, Dr. Joseph Burrascano. Don't quote me on that because I'm not a spell freak. But Dr. Joseph Burrascano. 3-page questionnaire online. It's free. See what your score is. And question your doctors. If they wear a white lab coat, please question them. Okay? There's not a test out there in the world that can prove you don't have Lyme. Children are born sick. Children born since 1954. This could be you, and you don't know it. Turn on the light. Understand that there is more depth and more truth yet to be disclosed, because the system just has yet to be capable of telling the truth. But there is a huge glimmer of hope. There is a brilliant group of Lyme disease advocates who's been engaging with Washington, D.C. And I've been part of that group, and let me tell you, it is stellar. And we are starting to bridge the gap. We really are. The change is coming. It is forming the foundations today. But we have to tell our entire civic community that Lyme disease is real. And it's just as close to you as COVID is right now. So please learn. Please get educated. Please Google it and see what's current. See what has been updated, because even as a medical practitioner, I guarantee you what you don't know about Lyme disease is massive. It is always the elephant in the room, and we must start to talk about it. Please. I already know, so this is not relevant to me, but it is relevant to you, your family, and your loved ones, and your future children. And this society's future matters. We can't have people always encrusted with schizophrenia, with depression, with pain, intractable pain, with MS, with fibro, depression, arthritis, neuropathy. I mean, the list goes on. Lyme is always present for these events. Imagine having a party and this one character always shows up that screws you up. That's Lyme. We don't know how it all works yet, but we darn straight have got to figure it out. And we need you, and you, and you, and you, and all 60 to 90,000 of your friends. Get on board. Challenge your media. Challenge your newsmakers. talk about this in a substantial and real fashion. It is critical to humanity to understand these long chronic illnesses. Just like long COVID, long Lyme has been here for like 90 years. Okay? 10 times the AIDS. I think we're due our time in the spotlight finally, okay? So y'all, let's get on board. Okay? Get on board the Lyme change. Otherwise, you're gritting the gear. I want to see on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., a national Lyme disease historical building. Because I think this nation owns not only Lyme reparations for people like me whose family members have died from this horrific, unidentified pathogen that was created as a war device, but we deserve our building on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. that tells the history of Lyme disease advocacy. And I hope you'll find a national loudmouth Lyme advocate with a bullhorn and a Lyme Rights Now sign. Because we can do better in this nation. We can admit our wrongs. We can get right with each other. And we can help each other forward in our medical science developments. Because unless and until we start to talk about Lyme disease, we're not going to get there. People are going to continue to suffer needlessly. I don't want to see that. I see it every day. Every single day. I think that the prevalence of Lyme disease in this nation is maybe 20 to 50% at this point. Yeah, it's too big to admit, or it just needs to become common knowledge. Either way, let's talk facts. Let's get people IGeneX tested to where they get real information, and let's prove what they have on board. Let's have all of the medical practices trained in how to identify patients, how to get them into the system for treatment and oversight. Let's raise awareness in the disability community so that we can provide these people with a living salary once they get on SSDI. And let's acknowledge this on the community level, because it's the benefit for all of us to call it what it is. Let's get to the core of the problem and stop talking about symptoms. When we segregate ourselves by symptoms, we can't look at the bigger picture, the broader perspective. And that's what we have to focus on. Why is Lyme always the chaos instigator in chronic illness? We always see it there when we look properly. Let's figure that out. And I think all of the advocacy work that myself and many of the other national Lyme advocates are doing is phenomenal. The internet has been a gift to us to where we can talk to each other, and we're getting it together. So I hope y'all join us, because we're a good group of people and we're very impassioned. We never want to see someone suffer as we have. That's the truth. Absolute God's truth. So please, hear the message. I love you guys. I am DiveGirl Deb. Thank you for listening. Please do spend some time at some reputable Lyme disease sites. I guarantee you, if you spend 24 hours researching this subject, or even a week, your perspectives will change. Your conversational patterns will change. This nation will change. And as we all look to be pathogen smart, especially with things like COVID, we're going to be a healthier community for it. But we have to aim properly. And we can't just follow these small cul-de-sacs that end dead, where we don't move forward. We have to combine all those cul-de-sacs. We have to bring all those communities together. We have to love each other, and we have to recognize that we cannot be married to our current diagnosis. We have to be open-minded that perhaps we've yet to learn the truth. I don't wish Lyme on anybody. Not that I have an enemy, but had I one, I wouldn't share this with her. Please, let's talk about Lyme disease. Let's allow our communities to become attached on this subject. Let's demand our medical providers discuss the elephant in the room and not be afraid. And let's, even in court, if need be, challenge the insurance industry and the regulatory industry that wants to tell these doctors how they can respond to patients on this subject matter. That we're just not going to take it anymore. And that Lyme rights now is what your shoulder is standing behind. That you want the truth. Just like I do. I know my truth. And I'd like to teach you yours. I'm DiveGirl Deb, President, Founder, the Flippin Lyme Foundation, Eugene, Oregon. 541-854-5336. Flippin, no G, Lyme @gmail.com. I love you guys. Please digest this information. Listen to it time and again. Share it with your friends. I promise you, you won't find a more authentic video out there, nor one that you should ignore. This is really important. You could be born sick, could explain all the list of your symptoms that nobody's been stitching together, and wouldn't that be keen at the end of the day? You'd have an answer. You'd finally know what monster you needed to slay. That's what it was for me to finally figure it out after 35, 40 years. Please don't be like Deb. Figure it out now. Go look at IGeneX. Go look at iLads. Look at their sites. Open your head. There goes the creaking hinge. A mind works best when it's open. And I'm challenging y'all. Open your Lyme mind. Let's be pathogen smart. And after that, we're going to do something that I'm a really well-known advocate for, and that's bee venom therapy. Because when you sting with honeybees, you end up healthier. That's another subject we'll talk about. First off, we have to get you identified as a Lyme patient. That you probably are, and you don't know it. As a lesbian, I can tell you it was really difficult in my 20s to identify that I just wanted to kiss girls. But it's harder, I think, to identify that you're a Lyme patient somehow. And it shouldn't be. And if you think about it, it's really not. You will survive. Okay? There's a great bunch of resources out there in the world about Lyme disease. Don't close your ears, okay? Because this matters. This really matters. I love you guys. I care about the world. I want us to be healthier and happier and to love each other. And at the end of the day, Lyme disease is so prevalent, you'll be shocked. Okay. I love you guys. Bye-bye.